Donald Trump is furious that parts of his own base are turning on one of his longest-running loyalists, Pam Bondi. After days of loud criticism from conservatives, Trump jumped onto Truth Social with a long, angry message defending Bondi, attacking her right-wing critics, and trying to turn the whole thing back on Democrats. But instead of calming things down, his post is actually making the divide inside MAGA a lot clearer. So in this video, I want to walk through three things: why Trump is so dug in on protecting Pam Bondi, why so many MAGA voices are suddenly done with her, and what Trump's latest outburst tells us about the direction of his movement. Let's start with who we're really talking about here. Who Pam Bondi is in Trump world. Pam Bondi is not some random Republican to Donald Trump. She's been part of his political orbit for years. She was Florida's attorney general from 2011 to 2019, right as Trump was rising in GOP politics. She spoke at the 2016 Republican National Convention, giving a red meat speech attacking Hillary Clinton. And when Trump was impeached the first time, he tapped Bondi to be part of his defense team in the Senate trial. Trump has called her a great attorney general, brought her into his inner circle, and floated her name privately for future roles. There's been periodic chatter that in a second Trump term, she could land at the Justice Department or in some other high-level law enforcement job. So when you see him rush to her defense on social media, that's not random. That's him circling the wagons around someone he views as part of the family. But that family label is exactly what's starting to bother a lot of his own supporters. The old Bondi scandals are back in the spotlight. If you've been following Republican politics for a while, you know Pam Bondi doesn't come to this moment with a clean slate. Two things in particular keep coming up. One, the Trump University donation. Back in 2013, Bondi's office was considering whether to join a multi-state investigation into Trump University, Trump's now defunct real estate seminar business that was flooded with fraud complaints. Right around that time, a political committee backing Bondi's re-election got a $25,000 check from the Trump Foundation. Bondi's office never joined the Trump University lawsuit. The Trump Foundation later paid a penalty to the IRS because that donation violated charity rules. Trump has always insisted there was no quid pro quo, and Bondi has denied any link between the donation and her decision. But that story has always looked swampy, and it directly undercuts the drain the swamp branding that MAGA is supposed to be about. Two, her record on powerful predators and well-connected defendants. As Florida's top law enforcement official, Bondi had a front-row seat to some of the biggest criminal justice scandals in the state. That includes the fallout from the sweetheart plea deal Jeffrey Epstein received from prosecutors in Florida years before. No, Bondi wasn't in office when Epstein first cut that deal, but she later held the most powerful law enforcement job in the state. She did not become a leading voice demanding that Florida reopen every part of that case. She rarely, if ever, used her office to aggressively challenge the way wealth and status shield people like Epstein. For a long time, MAGA media didn't want to touch any of that because Bondi was one of Trump's people. But with Epstein's name back in headlines in recent years, conservative grassroots activists have started to look a lot more closely at every official who had any authority in Florida during that era. That's the backdrop for the backlash we're seeing now. A right-wing base that's angry about double standards in justice, looking at Bondi's record and saying, hold on, how is this person part of the anti-corruption movement? Why MAGA is turning on Bondi now. So why is this flaring up now? Because the right isn't unified anymore. There is a real split between the populist anti-establishment wing that wants to rip out every piece of the old GOP system and the Trump loyalist inner circle that still includes a lot of people who look and sound like the old establishment. Bondi sits right on that fault line. On one side, you have grassroots activists on social media calling out the Trump University donation. Smaller conservative podcasters and commentators digging into Bondi's time as Florida AG and asking why she didn't go harder after elite wrongdoing. Online influencers who've built their brands on no more rhinos, no more insiders, lumping Bondi in with what they see as the old guard. And they're not saying this quietly. They are using the same language they've used against people like Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, and Ronna McDaniel. Swamp, career politician, shielding the powerful, protecting the system. On the other side, you have Trump, who sees Bondi as personally loyal and politically useful. He doesn't want to throw her under the bus. So instead of quietly ignoring the criticism, he jumped into the fight. That's where his latest Truth Social message comes in. Trump's combative message, and why it backfired in classic Trump fashion. He didn't put out a careful statement. He unloaded. His post did a few things all at once. He lavished praise on Bondi, calling her tough, smart, and unfairly attacked. He framed all criticism of her as helping the radical left, arguing that anyone on the right who questions her record is doing Democrats' work for them. He lashed out at specific Republicans and conservative commentators, accusing them of being jealous, weak, or secretly aligned with the Uniparty. And he once again tried to rewrite history around his own ethics scandals, insisting that there was absolutely nothing wrong with any donations or decisions involving Bondi, and that any suggestion otherwise is fake news. He didn't offer new facts. He didn't even really defend Bondi's record in detail. He just declared her innocent, declared himself innocent, and then went on the attack. For a certain slice of Trump's base, that's enough. If Trump says she's good, they're on board. But increasingly, there's another slice that's not buying it anymore. They're asking, if MAGA is supposed to be about cleaning up corruption, why are we supposed to ignore questions about Bondi's decisions? Why is every person close to Trump automatically beyond scrutiny, no matter what their record looks like? And how many times are we going to be told that any criticism of a Trump ally is helping the left, even when the criticism is about real ethical concerns? That's why this post is controversial. It's not just about the tone or the insults. It's about what it reveals. Trump's instinct is to treat loyalty to him as more important than any drain the swamp principle. We've seen this movie before. If this feels familiar, that's because it is. Look at the pattern over the last few years. Ronna McDaniel. Trump stood by her as RNC chair long after grassroots conservatives were demanding new leadership. When he finally edged away from her, it was only after the pressure became overwhelming. Kevin McCarthy. Trump blessed him as speaker, even as the hard right wanted someone more confrontational. That civil war ended with McCarthy tossed out and the party fractured. Bill Barr and Jeff Sessions. Both were once sold to the base as rock-solid conservative lawyers who would take on the deep state. When they didn't do exactly what Trump wanted, he turned on them and demanded that the base turn too. Dr. Fauci and the COVID response. Trump was the one who elevated Fauci and put him on TV every day. Later, when the base decided Fauci was the enemy, Trump tried to rewrite his role in all of it. Over and over, the message is the same. Loyalty to Trump personally is the organizing principle. Everyone else is either elevated or destroyed depending on where they stand with him. Pam Bondi fits right into that pattern. She's been loyal. She defended him on national TV. She stood by him during impeachment. And now, when some in the base are finally saying, wait, her record doesn't line up with what we say we want, Trump's answer is not to engage with the substance, it's to shout them down. What this says about the future of MAGA. So what does this actually mean going forward? A few big things. First, the movement is more fractured than it looks. Yes, Trump is still the dominant figure in Republican politics, but the reaction to this Bondi defense shows there is a real appetite, even on the right, for holding powerful Republicans to the same standard they claim to hold Democrats. Second, the drain the swamp brand is running into reality. You cannot say you want to tear down elite protections and then turn around and insist that no one ever question the ethics of people like Pam Bondi. At some point, that contradiction becomes too obvious, even for people who really like Trump. Third, personnel still matters. If Trump gets back into the White House, who he puts in charge of the Justice Department, the FBI, and other law enforcement agencies will decide if any of the rhetoric about cleaning up corruption means anything. Elevating someone with Bondi's record would send a very clear signal about which side of that argument he's on. And finally, we are watching in real time how loyalty tests work. When a leader demands blind loyalty to individuals instead of to principles, this is what you get. A base being told that asking basic questions about conflicts of interest is treasonous, that accountability is helping the enemy, and that all criticism must be silenced. This is exactly why I do these breakdowns. Because most people only see the headline, Trump defends Bondi, or conservatives slam former Florida AG. They don't see how all of this fits into a much bigger story about power, loyalty, and whether anyone in our political system is actually willing to hold their own side accountable. If you want more videos that slow this stuff down, connect the dots, and put these fights in context, hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. And if you made it this far in the video, drop a blue heart in the comments so I know you're with us. Keep paying attention. Keep asking hard questions, no matter who's in power. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.